Hey, you're with Startup Show San Diego. Special guest, of course, we're at the San Diego Smart City Hackathon Awards. So we've got somebody who's not from San Diego. Could you please tell us who you are and when you first found about this at San Diego and what attracted you to it?
Certainly, yeah. So my name is Jonathan Reichental. I'm the Chief Information Officer with the City of Palo Alto, Northern California. And I was invited today. One of the organizers is him and I go way back. We've been discussing sort of innovation and civic innovation for some time. When he was starting to think about how he could contribute to the city in which he lives here in San Diego, he reached out to me. And he said, Jonathan, we know you have done hackathons, you've done apps challenges, what advice do you have? So we got into a really good discussion and I gave him some tips. And anyway, he's a lot of great people to work with here in San Diego. And as we approached the event, he called me and he said, it'd be kind of neat if you came down and you met with some folks and you told us like what you've been doing in Northern California, what works, and by the way, tell us what doesn't work too. That's always so important. So I've been doing that today. I came in pretty early, just for the day, and I met with some really neat people from across the university. Now this evening, I've met with some city leaders. We've had a panel here. I was invited to be a judge of some of the finalists of the hackathon from this past weekend, and so I hope in some small way I've helped craft a good outcome here and provided some insight. I'm very impressed by what I see. Everybody who sort of went up and sort of said a few words this evening, whether it was the private companies that are engaged, some of the professors and leaders from the university, the startups who spoke, seemed genuinely passionate about trying to make a difference. And I think it starts there. It's got to start, with passion and from the heart. And if you can build on that, I think something could happen.
So you mentioned that you didn't start with the city. City is not your background. So take us back to the first conversation where somebody said, let's work for the city. What was that conversation like?
Well, thank you for asking. So I've spent all my career in the private sector. That is accurate, up until 5 years ago. And I'll tell you the exact moment. I'm walking down a corridor in the business. I was the CIO at O'Reilly Media, and I get a call from a headhunter, an executive recruiter. And I think the first question she asked, she said, would you consider working for government? And it's that moment, it's a split-second moment when you could say, I've no interest in government. I could have hung up. I could have hung up at that moment. But instead I chose, as I've done throughout my life, to listen and to know more. And I said, tell me about the opportunity. Why did you come to me? How can I help? What value do I bring? And I went down to the city of Palo Alto. I met with the city manager and the mayor at the time and met with city leaders. And I began to be convinced that there was a real opportunity to make a difference. That the city of Palo Alto could provide a platform for a whole lot of stakeholders to experiment with civic innovation, to try out new things and to fail and to try again and succeed. And if we could do it in Palo Alto and sort of codify that, we could share it with lots of people. And so that's what's happened. I was surprised. I wasn't intending to stay so long, and it's been really neat work, and it's working. We're having successes. So that's very empowering. It's very meaningful. And I think a lot of us want meaningful work. We want to do things that matter.
So if you were sitting on the plane next to somebody,
yes,
and you sit next to them, and they say, you just look incredibly happy and excited about the future.
Yeah.
Why are you smiling? What would you say?
Well, let me maybe have a couple of cocktails, perhaps, or something.
First, anything you want.
No, but honestly, I have a deep philosophy that I would love that everybody gets up in the morning and rushes to work or rushes to the thing that excites them, whether it's volunteer work or a job or you're working for yourself. I have that, and I want everybody to have that. As far as I know, we get one shot at this thing, and it's short, and I want it to be worthwhile. So I got to do work that's meaningful, that matters to others, that's valuable to me and my family and others. So I get to do that. And so each person has to find their thing, has to find their song and sing it forever, right, as they say. So what makes me smile is that what I do with my team makes a difference. That when we, for example, put Wi-Fi in a park, and I drive past that park in the evening and I see families playing games or small groups of startup guys and gals just programming, and I say, can I help make that happen?
So in 5 years, when you look back, I know this is guessing because you've done some things or something you might do. What is the one thing that you would smile most about and say, I did that?
Well, I think you're right. Of course, there's always a selection of things.
It could change tomorrow, too. It doesn't have to be the same thing.
Okay, so two things. I think if I could do two,
okay.
I'll bargain with you. I'll do two.
You're on Facebook Live. We'll finish up right now.
Sorry, I got to steal the judge.
All right.
This is really live. So no, I have a question I have to answer really quick. So the first thing is our work around open government is becoming a more transparent and accessible government. Done great things putting up a platform. Go to data.cityofpaloalto.org. It's really a legacy, I think, that will last a long time. I certainly hope it goes from strength to strength. And then finally, we created a civic technology center at City Hall, a startup in City Hall. And again, we built it. It's a physical place. And you know, when I leave that physical place, I hope will still exist. You walk into City Hall, you walk into our startup, and you think you're in Silicon Valley, but you have to remember that, hey, this is government. And so we do government differently, and I'm very proud of that.
Fantastic. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming down.
You bet.
This is Eric Westridge. Here's good. And we're with Startup Show San Diego and at the San Diego Smart City Hackathon. Thanks for being with us.